Hello, dear ones, Father Peter John, coming to you from the bunker in Bloomington, Indiana. Christ is in our midst. I hope and pray you are all well. I wanted to bring to you in this Thanksgiving week one of the saints that we're celebrating today. His name is Saint Ischyrion. It's not easy to pronounce. Ischyrion. And some accounts talk about him as the bishop of a bishop in Egypt. Some accounts talk of him as the bishop of Tarsus. It's possible there were two different ones, or I don't know how common of a name Ischyrion was in the early church, but I suppose there could have been a couple of them out there. And then there's also this connection with the one they call this great ABBA Ischyrion, who was one of the Desert Fathers. And I want to kind of connect those dots just a little bit. First of all, it was not uncommon for the great monks to be called upon to be bishops. So what probably is the case here is that Ischyrion was a great abbot out at Mount Sinai. And he was a spiritual giant there, and when there was a vacancy for a bishopric, that he was called upon to fill it, and did so. It is also possible, and certainly happened a number of times in the early church, where someone would be called upon to be a bishop, and they would be a bishop, and after a number of years they would retire to the caves of the desert and live out the rest of their life as an ascetic. So we're not sure, we aren't told which one of those it could be, but I just want to read you one instance from this great abbot Ischyrion of the Egyptian desert. This is from the sayings of the Desert Fathers. It says, the Holy Fathers were, and when it says the Holy Fathers, it's referring to in this case, the fathers of the desert, the great Desert Fathers. The Holy Fathers were prophesying about the last generation. Now, let me stop there real quick. This is an extremely uncommon way to talk about the Desert Fathers. Extremely uncommon to talk about them getting together and prophesying about anything, let alone the end times. So this is a very special saying from the Desert Fathers that really sticks out as pretty unique, actually. The Holy Fathers were prophesying about the last generation. They said, what have we ourselves done? They were prophesying in the Spirit, and they were asking one another, what have we accomplished out here? What have we done? And one of them, the great ABBA Ischyrion, replied, we ourselves have fulfilled the commandments of God. And when he talks about that, he's talking about loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself, specifically, right? Because they had left everything, riches and family and friends and church community and just society, everything. They'd left all the comforts of life to go out and pursue this noetic relationship with God in the depths of the desert. So they were loving God with everything they had, and they were struggling to love their neighbor as themselves. So he says, we ourselves have fulfilled the commandments of God. Then the others replied, and those who come after us, what will they do? And this is referring to later generations of desert dwellers and monastics and Christians, right? What will they do? And he says, they will struggle to achieve half of our works. So there is this, and this is why the Desert Fathers are so special. There was this really special, amazing, awesome, wonder-working grace of the Holy Spirit. And that's why we have this compilation of sayings of the Desert Fathers, because they were so Spirit-filled in their lives. It was a very, very special time. Doesn't mean there aren't Spirit-filled people or great ascetics or wonder workers throughout history. We know there are, right? But in this case, there is this awesome concentration of them. It was pretty unique in church history. So those who come later, they'll struggle to do half of the works that we're doing out here. It will get harder for them to live the way that we're living. And then they said, and those who come after them, what will happen? Now remember what they're prophesying about here. The last generation, they're prophesying about the end times. So they're saying, these brothers are prophesying, they're in the Spirit, they're saying, what about those Christians living in the last days? And they could be talking about monks, or about clergy, or about just Christians in general. They're saying, what about those at the end? And ABBA Ischyrion replied, the men of that generation will not accomplish any works at all, and temptation will come upon them. And those who will be approved in that day, those who endure to the end, will be counted greater than either us or our fathers. That's how hard it's going to be in the end. When the Antichrist is in the world on the throne, when he is working signs and wonders in the heavens and doing all of these things that he's going to do to try to lead people astray. They say they won't be working any works at all, but just because they endure to the end, they'll be counted greater than all of us who are out here walking on water, praying with our feet, 2 feet off the ground, our hands on fire, healing the sick and raising the dead. So I wanted to share that. This is ABBA Ischyrion, who we commemorate today, known as a great father of the Desert Fathers, a great Abba, and also as a holy bishop. Christ is in our midst. He is and ever shall be.